Small open meeting. So, yeah. Oh, so, I want to.
Give him some heads up.
Okay, let's bring to order the village annual meeting. Before we start, we're going to do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little house cleaning first. This is a public meeting, so anybody and everybody can be here. But the only ones that are allowed to participate and be recognized are village residents or people that are approved by the voters. So I will ask that if you are a village resident and you want to participate in voting or being recognized, to sit in this section of chairs here. If you are not a village resident, then I would ask that you please sit out on the outlying areas. Okay.
These are outliners.
And I will also get the permission from the voters. Or I'm asking for permission from the voters to recognize if any questions are brought before some of the town or village officials. And that would be Eric, who's the village manager, Nate, who's the water and light foreman, Rosemary, who's the village clerk, Susan, who's the assistant village clerk, Dan, who's the chief operator down the sewer plant, or RJ, who's the fire chief. I guess I would look for a formal motion on allowing any of those folks to be recognized and able to speak within this body.
So.
Second, you need a second.
Yeah, motion, we have a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. If you are a village resident, you can sit in the chairs. If you are not, stay on the outside. Okay, the first order of business is I have to read the whole warning. Warning, annual village meeting. April 7th, 2026, inhabitants of Johnson Village Corporation, who are legal voters in the village, are hereby warned to meet at the Johnson Municipal Building upstairs, Johnson Village, Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 7:30 in the evening. Local time to transact the following business to wit. The voters are further warned to meet at Johnson Municipal Building in said town on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 to vote the following by Australian ballot, Article 1 and Article 2. The ballot boxes for reception of the ballots for Article 1 will be open at 9 a.m. and shall close at 7 p.m. in the evening. The legal voters of the village of Johnson are further notified that voter qualification, registration, and absentee voting relative to said annual meeting shall be as provided in Chapter 43, 51, and 55 of Title 17 Vermont statutes annotated. Article 1, to elect village officers as required by Australian ballot, president for a term of 1 year, trustee for a term of 3 years, trustee for a term of 2 years, collector of taxes for a term of 1 year, auditor for a term of 3 years, auditor for a term of 2 years, that's the balance of a 3-year term, auditor for a term of 1 year, which is the balance of a 3-year term. Article 2, shall the village borrow a sum not to exceed $415,000 by the issuance of notes for a term not to exceed 10 years for support cash flow for a pending rate in case increase before the Public Service Board. Article 3, to hear the reports of the village officers. Article 4, will the village authorize its trustees to appoint a water and light commissioner, if not, to elect a water and light commissioner for 1 year. Article 5, will the village authorize its trustees to set the rates of compensation of its officers and employees? Article 6, will the village vote a budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village? Article 7, shall the village provide notice of the availability of the annual report by postcard mailed to all registered voters at least 30 days before the annual meeting, instead of mailing or otherwise distributing a report to the voters of the town pursuant to 24 BSA 1682A. Article 8, shall the village establish a reserve fund to be called the Fire Department Capital Building Maintenance Fund, to be used for capital improvement and maintenance of the fire department buildings in accordance with 24 VSA 2804. Article 9, do such other business as may properly be brought before this meeting. The legal voters and residents of the village of Johnson are further warned and notified that pursuant to 17 VSA 2680G, an informational meeting will be held at the Johnson Municipal Building on Tuesday, March 31st, 2026 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the purpose of explaining the support of cash flow for a pending rate case increase before the Public Service Board for the village electric department. Dated at Johnson, and I don't have the dates or signatures on this form, but it was signed by 3 trustees and attested to by the village clerk, Rosemary Audubert. First thing I've noticed in the village bylaws that I'm supposed to read the results of the Australian ballots. So as all of the offices were uncontested, be very simple for most of it. For president, 1-year term, Eric Osgood, 32. Trustee, 3-year term, bjputvain, 27. Trustee, 2-year term, William Jennison, 26. The rest of the offices were left blank, write-ins. The article to borrow or issue some notes for 415,000. There were 12 yes votes and 27 no votes, so the article fails. Now we get into the meeting portion. Just to remind everybody, if you are a village voter, I will be looking for you in this section of chairs. If you're not a village voter or do not want to participate in voting or be recognized, then please sit on the outside area. Article 3, to hear the reports of the village officers, and I will Jennison.
Good evening. Dedication this year was to RJ West, our fire chief, longstanding fire chief. I'll do a quick read as best I can here. This year's village report dedicated to our fire chief, RJ West. RJ has lived in Johnson's entire life. After graduating from college, he returned home and was looking for a way to give back to his community, joining the Johnson Fire Department in 1992. As soon as he became a member, he could see him absorbing as much knowledge as possible. Through the years, RJ gained the trust, respect of his fellow firefighters, who quickly advanced him to an officer's role within the department. Moving through the ranks, RJ soon found himself serving as assistant chief under the direction of respected and successful Chief Gordy Smith. In 2012, RJ accepted the role of chief and continued to grow the department by embracing solid management practices that began with respect, pride, knowledge, and responsibility. Under RJ's mentorship and leadership, he encouraged everyone from the officers to firefighters to be proud of themselves and their accomplishments. And 2023, along with many towns in Vermont, Johnson was hit by a historic flood. In the hours leading up to and during the flood, the fire department responded to 58 rescue calls under RJ's leadership. Along with many buildings in the village, the fire station also sustained severe damage from flooding. RJ organized an aggressive plan to document damage, negotiate a remediation plan, and get the station equipment restored to pre-flood conditions. Along with being chief, RJ also owns two and operates two businesses in Johnson, Maple Hills Campground and Outback Design. RJ is an undeniably busy person, who remains committed to many obligations he accepts, including his family and friends.
Thank you all. We're very fine, but it's the success of the team that makes our fire department thrive, so.
Leadership is very important.
Johnson has a wonderful fire department. Thank you.
One of your officers suggested it, so.
I'll get people with it.
Yeah, I know. You see me on traffic.
Well, certainly congratulations and it's well deserved. Article 4, will the village authorize its trustees to appoint a water and light commissioner? If not, to elect a water and light commissioner for 1 year. I think it's for a motion from the floor.
So moved.
Second.
So moved for what?
Which one?
To a point.
To appoint. Okay, we have a motion to appoint. We have a second. We have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Article 5, will the village authorize its trustees to set the rates of compensation of its officers and employees? And I'd look for a motion from the floor.
I move that the village authorizes trustees to set the rates of compensation for its officers and employees.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Article 6, will the village vote a budget to meet the expenses and liabilities of the village? And I would look for a motion. You want to make the motion? Sure. So motion. What do you move?
I don't have the numbers on me, Rick. Do you have them looking? That I found them in my book.
$1,367,365. Now, over $1 million of that is passed through money due to grants for the wastewater for the garage. It's just, it has to be shown in the budget.
Looking good.
So you're making a motion for $1,000,000.
$377,365.
$377,365.
Yep.
And that's your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah,
Gordon,
you have the amount, I think. Also with this motion should be the amount to be raised by taxes, which is, I think, about 118,000, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere.
Get up there. Yeah, to be raised by tax, it'll be $118,362.
So could we somehow see an amendment or whoever made the motion, just to include that in the motion?
would you consider that a friendly amendment?
I would.
Do you, who seconded it?
I just.
Would you consider that a friendly amendment? And you would maintain your who had the second?
I did.
You did, okay,
Yes, I would.
okay. So then the motion will stand with a budget of $1,377,365. And of that, $118,362 raised by taxes. Okay, Duncan,
Can I suggest that the amount to be raised by taxes be identified as an estimated amount to be raised by taxes? If you don't, then the motion stands, you will have to raise the 118,000, so if it's more or less.
That's a good point. It's with buyouts and everything else.
would you consider that a friendly amendment?
I would.
It would change to estimated raised by taxes. And is that friendly with you? Okay, so that will change to estimated. Is there any other discussion? Motion on the floor. Duncan,
Two questions. One is, if you look at the 2025 actuals, it looks like there's a $109,120 deficit I'm wondering if that's been taken care of, and the other one is. Usually we would see what the estimated tax rate. Was to be, and I'm not seeing that, and,
It's a 4.9% increase.
What's the actual rate?
you know what the actual rate is estimated to be?
What did that come up to?
This year's 18 cents.
19 cents?
Issue 19, yeah.
Yeah, 19 cents.
Any further questions? Discussion?
I don't think it's question about previous year's deficit.
Oh. You got a two-part question,
Yeah.
right?
There's a two-part question.
Who would like? to-
Yes, that has been rectified. That was a case of. Not enough weight on. General. Labor. Compared to utilities labor. There's. A lot of snow. So general labor was large, so. I shifted those labor lines to reflect. What's actually going on.
So you don't see any of that anywhere in here, is that in? Like the auditor's report or something of that nature, or? They're showing $109,000 deficit.
Right.
In
I'm not saying it's all there,
report.
I'm saying that was the one factor.
What's that?
So it might not have been all labor, that was the largest factor, was the. There was. Not enough, there we go. 134. Yeah, O and M labor. Budget of 89,325 last year, came in at 129,700. So, like I said, that was a big chunk, it was not all, obviously, but. We underestimated labor last year. And part of it was also just. With the grant funding. We pay bills before the end of the year. They came in after budget's closed. On the garage work.
Usually you deal with that as a due to or due from and allocate it that way though, don't you? Maybe that's a Rosemary question.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of it's timing of the grant, I mean, you keep them.
It's grant time. As far as stuff that wasn't just pass through stuff, it was mostly just that. The O and M labor.
The majority of it was a pass through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the majority of that 109 was actually a pass through, some bills were paid, grant came in, replenished the account. That's why we're able to, run the budget we're running this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more
That work,
questions?
that work for you, Duncan?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm used to seeing it more in a financial report, but that's, I got it.
So would this be a proper place to say, since Article 2 failed, what does that mean for the budget, that we're going into the budget? With the deficit? No,
Electrical budget was the request for the bond.
yeah,
That has nothing to do with general department.
oh, it doesn't, it's not part of it, thank you so much.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor that. For a budget of $1,377,365. Of which to estimated amount to be raised by taxes of $118,362. If there's no more discussion. Bring it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Okay.
The ayes have it. Article passes. Article 7, shall the village provide notice of the availability of the annual report by postcard mailed to all registered voters at least 30 days before the annual meeting, instead of mailing or otherwise distributing the report to the voters of the town pursuant to 24 VSA at 1682A. What the wishes of the voters? So moved. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
A motion is second, any discussion?
What's the cost that you doing for that?
Rosemary, what was our, we were pushing, I mean, the cost would be compounded if you consider it going over the years, but. We were,
Probably the cost is gonna be similar, but it's time putting the report together. Which takes. 2
Couple
days,
days.
just to build up.
Okay, I think you had a question.
So what you're proposing to send out postcards of the,
postcard to ask you if you want an annual report, but.
to request if you want one, and then what do you do if you want one?
And I'd also put a link and a QR code on it where you could just go to the website and read the report if you wanted to do it electronically.
Yeah, but we all know that everybody's not all great with the electronic.
That's true.
I was just trying to understand the process of, so you send out the postcard,
You
then
return
they
it,
send it back and say, yes, I would like a report.
and then you'll get a report
And how many days before the meeting is on?
and then stick
It'll
with
be
it.
mailed out at least 30 days.
30 days. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Or when you get your card for the town report, then you wanna build a report too.
Duncan and then Cindy.
This is probably a clerk question, but could the postcard or the request to receive it be included in a water or sewer bill, or does it have to be mailed separately?
Well, not all village residents have water and sewer.
But not,
Or receive
because they rent and the
receive.
bill goes to the landlord sometimes.
But you probably know which customers are village versus not.
I think I'm thinking to eliminate errors, I think everybody that's on the list would receive the postcard. To try to probably take you longer to figure out who's receiving water, sewer, and who's not, and stuff like that, and it would be just to mail it out. That'd be my thought.
And card postage is a whole lot better than letter postage, or especially book postage.
Then after I saw it pass on the town side, I was gonna discuss with the board that maybe we could approach the town and see if the one postcard, as Rosemary said, could have both on it, and you would just split the cost of the postcard. That would give you a whole extra month ahead for the village side of it, but it was a consideration. Gonna bring in the board.
Cindy?
So will the report also be available online then 30 days before the meeting?
Probably not there.
Oh, not 30 days, but you know, when it comes up, you'll have the code. If it does pass, I'll make sure that when the report does go live, that we put it out on Front Porch Forum and such, Facebook and all. Yeah.
Generally, they're mailed out, what, Rosemary, 2.5 weeks before, or
It's probably week before.
just a week before? I kind of had mine for longer than that, but.
Bigger special.
I could be wrong too.
Do you have any further questions?
Maybe this might be more clerical, but if someone becomes a village resident after this process has taken place, will they be able to not fall through the cracks, but receive a,
If they sign up to register to vote, I would assume they would.
that would have to be part of the process through the ladies in the office to make them be aware, right? So they don't go without.
Am I correct on that, Rosemary? You only send it to registered voters, correct?
And you can pull labels off the voting checklist.
But you could get walk-in like 2 days before the meeting, right? Still be able to, that's all I'm thinking, the late people may want to come in.
Well, late people, if they're walking in, they can we'll have a stack of them in the office.
when we talked about this at town meeting, we talked about having some number of reports available at the meeting. Will that be done in this case? though?
That was the intent,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's some here if people need them.
As well as in the office, so if they do come in to pay their electric, they want them to be in the office.
Just one other quick question, because I get why you're getting the people to get to the postcard to those people that are registered to vote. I get that, but then we also know that that means that is some people that are gonna be lost to not get that notification or get that report. Is there any way that somebody might be able to come into the town office and fill out one of those things and request it and not be a registered voter? Just trying to play advocate of both sides of, somebody that isn't registered or whatever, but might still want the report. Is there any way of that happening?
Very interesting. If you want it, we'll get them one.
I just,
And as we said, it will be on the website.
yeah.
And just to add to that maybe issues that are brought up within our village that concern people may motivate them to register. So, yeah, it's a double goodness.
We have the article before you. Is there any more discussion on it? Seeing any, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The article passes. Article 8, shall the village establish a reserve fund to be called the Fire Department Capital Building Maintenance Fund to be used for capital improvements and maintenance of the fire department buildings in accordance with 24 VSA 2804.
So
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Just get some clarification, discussing with the board and discussing with the chief. Maintenance on the fire department has been limited to pretty much none besides what they can do in their own budgets. We have to start preparing the buildings, getting aged. It's gonna need some rot repair, some paint to keep it up to shape. We have a valuable building, probably one of our most valuable buildings in the community, which I feel without having substantial increases, we can do a reserve fund and not just the town or the village of Johnson will be paying for this, but all contracted areas because they need an adequate building for the fire department to serve them. It's been many years since it's been built and our day, there hasn't been a lot done to it, am I correct?
That is correct.
So that was my reasoning with bringing it to the board and asking for this to be on the article.
I think the board agreed with what you brought up because it's easier to try to level fund things, so it's a little bit each year, and so we're okay, we need $50,000 this year, and then we don't, so we're trying to knock the tops off the increases and make it so it's more, some costs the same, but make them more affordable, so your taxes, there we go.
You mentioned that the money coming in from calls. Where has that gone in the past? What will change?
Nothing, it's that, it's not coming from calls from the contracted areas and the town, their contract. So what it would do is RJ had a discussion with us about how you approach the other towns about it and explain why we're doing this and how we do it. We don't have a number yet, we haven't sat down and discussed how much we'd like to acquire for the fund each year, last spring, we allocated $50,000 towards the maintenance of the building we have not used yet. So I would assume we would recently put that in there. And if we don't do it like this and we just do it in the general fund, when we run short, that money's not there, so it gets used. This would be a dedicated area set aside, like all the other funds for that stuff, that can't be touched unless it's for the maintenance of that building. Maintenance as in paint, rot repair, new door, window,
And
garage door.
It rolls year to year.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as this passes. Then we just,
Duncan?
I fully support the idea of the reserve fund. what I'm a little uncomfortable with is there's nothing in the wording of the article that says how it's gonna be funded. Is it gonna be funded by a line item in the budget? Is it gonna be funded by, grant monies that might come in? It's a little bit of an open-ended question.
Yeah.
I'd rather see more definition.
Yes, we definitely could have added that, sorry about that, it's gonna be funded through all contracts
Through the line item, but
on a line item.
So to help Kim and maybe Duncan here, obviously the fire department's owned by the village. We do cover the areas of Johnson, town of Johnson, town of Belvedere, and town of Waterville. So each one of those three have a contract every year that they sign with us. And that's where the funding, majority of the funding comes from. And that's where the monies will come from to fund this account. Will come through the contracts between Johnson, Waterville, and Belvedere.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the article in that case, that it specifically say to be funded by a line item in the fire department budget.
Okay, we have a motion for an amendment.
Motion, correct?
You want to make an
you
amendment?
can just accept it if you want, since you moved.
I mean, if you want to make a motion, it's fine. So. You make an amendment motion?
I'm making a motion, to amend the wording of the article, to add the language to be funded by a line item in the fire department budget.
Need a second to get moving.
Second.
And we have a second. Second. So. Now we're gonna open it up for discussion. When we do take a vote, when we will come to a vote, at some point, we will be voting on the amendment first. So if we can go this either way with the discussion on the amendment of its own merit, or discuss the whole article amendment or motion as it stands. So that's clear as mud. Let's talk about the amendment first, I guess.
So my question to your amendment is that. By nature, it's gonna limit us to the line item. So if we do get grants. That isn't fall under the purview of the line item unless it's. So it's kind of limiting more than it is clarifying.
I think you're right, and I would suggest if you look at motions or articles in the past where reserve funds have been created on the town side, they have included a whole number of different funding sources, such as, year-end surpluses, grants, other things. I could well be wrong about this, but I almost think you are required to indicate what the source of the funding for a reserve line item is going to be.
That I'm not sure. I can't speak to that.
Kim?
Can line items be put into the budget that say grants and contracted funds that are raised through fire department cannot be a line item also, so that that's included or not?
Like my understanding, when me and Rosemary had this conversation, it had to be a line item for the reserve fund. It wasn't really about what could go into it, correct?
So we're voting for that line item now.
Yes, and so I would say that it would be. What Duncan said would be. Correct, and what Will said would be correct, and grants. Other funds, private donations.
Would it work to change your motion or amend it to say at minimum will be funded by?
I think it'd be cleaner to vote them all down, start over.
Just, say that way, it's telling people that it'll be done by line item, but it's not limiting.
Yeah, I think Will is absolutely right, that, when you establish a reserve fund. There's a couple key aspects of it. Number one, once the money's in the reserve fund, it cannot be used for any other purpose. Other than what you established it for.
Right. And that's what we're after.
Yeah. So that's number one, but I think generally you're also supposed to indicate how you're going to fund that reserve fund. What sources of money are gonna be used to put it in there, so I would encourage you guys to look at that language and be as broad as you can in terms of, like, for example, year-end surpluses. Let's say the fire department ends up with a year-end surplus. Take that year-end surplus and put it into the reserve fund. There's a number of ways that you can build up a reserve fund other than just raising taxes for it.
So if we were to amend the motion Article 8 to say to be funded, to be a line item in the fire department budget. To be funded by contracts and other means or other means. That would cover donations, that would cover grants, that would cover, so we have the option of receiving those funds from multiple locations, but it still comes through as a line item. That would solve the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it still leaves it a little bit open-ended.
As far as the funding, but we don't want to limit the funding. Right, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna speak for you, maybe you wanna limit the funding. So we can't apply for grants, or that we can't receive donations, or,
No, I would love to be able to see, if somebody wants to donate $50,000 to the reserve fund, who might say that's not a bad idea.
yeah, but I didn't wanna speak for you, so.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. I'm just not exactly sure whether or not.
So Will had a suggestion, and I'm not sure if that's going towards a friendly amendment. And I certainly hope it goes to a friendly amendment and not an amendment of an amendment. So,
I haven't made an amendment, I'm just saying, with that, making the line item to be funded by contracts and other means.
So your line item contracts, grants, surplus and donations. And then we
Or other,
could,
or other
That,
means.
that could do it right there,
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah, the list wise kind of gives you a little bit more clear kind of picture into it.
Yeah,
should the other means be added in there? I mean, I don't know what other means there would be at the
Yeah.
time, and we could revisit it, but.
but, I mean, I can amend, I'd be willing to do an amendment to my motion to add a line item in the fire department budget to be funded by. Contracts, grants and donations,
Surplus
surplus,
and other.
if that would satisfy your amendment.
because
You
you,
would.
you consider that, do you consider that a friendly amendment?
Well, if he's, you.
I'll be willing to make that amendment to mine, if my second will also second it, and then if you remove your,
Then I could withdraw.
you can withdraw your amendment to the motion.
I'm good.
Okay,
Okay, you're withdrawing your motion.
Well,
as long as I make, okay,
Before you make your motion, what's your desire here, to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion contingent upon Will making the changes to his original motion that he's.
Okay, and who has seconded your motion? Are you willing to have the motion or the amendment withdrawn?
I want to say no, just to see what happens.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Will, I'll give you the
okay,
floor.
so that, as Article 8 is written, I will add that to be a line item in the fire department budget. To be funded by
Contracts,
Contracts,
grants,
grant,
surplus, donations. and
surplus
other means.
donations and other means, any other mean. That work for you? Okay,
Yeah, who was
second in
it?
mind,
Who was the second on this?
Scott, okay. You okay with that, Scott? Yeah. Okay, all right, we're down to one.
But there's a second of yours now.
Still gonna.
He's second in mine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, now the amendment on the floor, we have any discussion on that, or are we ready to go to vote on the amendment? This is only the adding the amendment that Will just described.
Can you just read it?
It was adding to be funded from a line item in the fire department budget that comes from contracts. Something I wrote. Grants.
Destinations surplus.
Donations and other. Okay, so motion is on that amendment. Or the discussion right now is on that amendment. I'm gonna go for a vote if there's no more discussion. We are only voting on the amendment at this time. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The amendment passes. Now, this amendment is part of our original article in motion. So now we go back to discussion on the original article. With this added amendment. Is there any more discussion? If not, bring it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? And motion passes. With the amendment. Article 9 is any other business to be brought before this, do such other businesses and may properly be brought before this meeting. And order.
Two things. One is the happiest one. I'm happy for one person. I think we all should have a standing ovation for somebody who's worked in this community for many, many years as a village clerk, the village treasurer, and all kinds of other duties. I want to say thank you very much.
Rosemary, I'll give you the floor. I want to give a speech.
When I started here, I was the youngest employee for the town of Village. I ended up being the oldest in here.
How'd that happen?
Did over the years.
In the course of 10 years, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing?
Just the other first, I just want to make a suggestion because we can't do anything binding the electric department. That's all through the control by the public service board and so forth. But with this vote, the $450,000 being voted down, I strongly urge the board and the manager to come up with another vote as soon as you can, because I'm very proud of this department. I'm proud of other departments around the area, but I think we should keep this electric department as long as we can staff it, provide good service and maybe average or below average rates. I think we should find ways to correct the motion and put it back for a special meeting. That's just a suggestion.
On my radar. I'd like to add something really quick, Rosemary. Thank you for all the advice you've given me over the last 5 years. I've confided in you. You've answered me brutally and honestly many times. And I very much appreciate all you've done for me.
You used to swat my head.
Takes you on to do a few times.
Listen most of the time.
Most of the time. I should
She's
have
listened to me every time I needed to talk to her. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a sense of the possibility and what it would take for us to move forward to emerge with the town. To have the village and town unite and find some easier path of making that happen and to hear what people's, especially in this room, to hear what people's feelings are about what is the deterrent. For me, I see a wholeness, I see less bickering, I see making phone calls to get help and having a joint effort of the people that we're paying our taxes to, that are willing to help versus saying it's not us. I would love to hear why it wouldn't be a good idea. Be brave.
Because I'm a village resident and I don't think it's a very smart maneuver. All other village and town mergers haven't worked out very good. Waterbury's having troubles. Essex and Essex Village totally separated because it was better off for both entities. What a lot of people don't realize is we have a unique situation in this community to be able to double dip in grants. We eliminate that. There was $800 and something thousand we received for the grant to do our garage. The town would have not gotten the USDA grants that year if we were together because it was used. It would have been used on the garage. There was an economic impact grant that come. I believe the town also received that grant, Rosemary? They didn't receive, okay, skip that one. ARPA funds, they're separated. That was a double dip. There's lots of reasons not to, and very few reasons besides the ones that say that they can't cooperate or get answers from the office down here or from their trustees. It's pretty simple what the village owns and what the town does. It's the village. If we merge, do realize that everybody's all about the electric department and the town running it. The town wouldn't run it, it would become a utility commission. Right? They're enterprises. They're controlled, run by a municipality, but they are all separate businesses. So if you look at it that way, the ones that were complaining on Front Page Forum about not having a say in the village vote, the only village vote that's going on here is the general department. There is no vote besides that you didn't want to back a bond for the electrical department, correct? So as a commission, we're trustees of the utilities. We vote on our budgets and set them. We don't have a public vote on it because it's a huge uptake to get you up to speed as to why we needed $400,000. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows in this room why we need that money because of the legislature and all their green acts and stuff like that. Costs us a lot of money to buy green power versus hydropower, nuclear power, or any other power. If we could buy from Seabrook, you would have your rates back when Gordy started on this board. We can't do that because we have to purchase back power from people who put solar on their buildings at a higher rate than we could buy power for. That's where our downfalls come.
Some of us higher than we can pay, we can get paid for it.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
We're reimbursing them more than we can buy power for.
More than we can sell it for.
Or sell it for, correct?
Yeah.
So it's costing us more money on all these stuff they implement, and it's not just the Village of Johnson. Okay, this is not a Hyde Park thing. Hyde Park was total mismanagement. This isn't what's going on here. We were hit hard by a sunny summer. Velco and all the other people that bring in power throwing in these huge rates increases on us in fees, basically. Throwing stuff out. It's a guesstimate every year. We also lost how many utility customers in the flood?
About 7%.
So stuff hits. Me and Eric's had a lot of conversations about this. I've had several conversations with residents about it. Trust me, none of us feel lighthearted about the situation. We asked for money last year to back us for a bucket truck, a small bucket truck. We spent almost $80,000 less than we asked for. We're not frugal with money. We're very trying to keep it in our own little community and not spend it unless we have to. That's my reasoning for not. The town has enough things to do on their side, and I think this guy could vouch that he wouldn't want to be involved with the electrical, sewer, or water department when he was doing all that.
I wouldn't be, man.
But, thanks.
You would.
Can I just ask, so it could, the water, sewer and electric be departments within the town as a, like a.
Oh, there would be a private utility commission, and there would be a utility commission, because the village residents are the ones that own them. So unless this merge happens and the town wants to write me a check for what I've paid for the last 35 years living here, then I would consider it that way, but I don't think many other people look at it that way. The village itself invests a lot into it, and a lot of town residents don't realize we pay extra taxes to live in this village. So if we merge, then everybody that's outside the village district right now is gonna be all for the select board saying we're gonna charge a surcharge on everybody that's on near the sidewalks. What's that? Making a village tax again. So that's why it's unfair for the people outside to complain about it. They do not pay the village tax. You're a village resident, you know what your tax is each year. How long have you lived here? If you remove that amount from you, you'd have a lot of money, wouldn't you?
Is there a way to stop double taxing us then, when there's grants that come up and we have to pay the town portion and the village portion?
I don't understand what you're
There's
saying.
grants.
On any. Well, the town usually asks for money and then they say, oh, let the village pay the other half. And as taxpayers, we're paying for both.
I've never voted for 50-50, so I think it's. I agree with what you're saying, 100%. The things that involve the town and the village and they want the village to pay 50% is totally unfair. And I personally have never voted for one of those. So the way to solve that is to get people up here that agree with you.
Is there anything else?
And just to add on to your rant about the utilities also. Just know that your kids will breathe cleaner air for all the green stuff they're trying to get.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just expressing the reality that it's, last year Scott told me to remember he's running out of money to pay this stuff. Scott knows why it's going up. It's not because of this here, this little utility company causing me.
I think we would have had more voters saying yes if the information was clearer. What happened, why they want it, and how it would be spent. That would be super.
I agree 100%. That's why you ought to show up to our budget meetings when we're doing that stuff and everybody else is sitting in here. Cindy?
So, I was wanting to clarify, because in my front porch power post, I said I'm not a voter, but when I got here to do the count, Rosemary said that the line goes right through the middle of my house. And eventually I can't.
Only if you live on that.
I'm in the same boat.
Of course, you're not.
You
I
have to
just
vote.
wanted to clarify that I made a point about that, but, yeah, I think my issue was I just didn't understand how our budget didn't have that, you know, how we had that large amount that wasn't sort of pre-anticipated in the budget. And so why we're kind of under that amount, and then when I was looking at the different items, like about buying, you know, what it was costing us for transmission and stuff like that. I just didn't understand why we hadn't been able to, I mean, it looks like when we do our rate. Applications or whatever for our rate increases, that we're budgeting out like 3 or 4, you know, a bunch of years, looking back on past years and budgeting forward with anticipation. It looked like from whatever that BSA website is, that we're gonna have to make changes in 27 about where we're purchasing stuff and all of that. So I just was kind of really red flagged about, you know, how did we miss in our budget process? You know, $400,000 worth of.
The transmission is part of the power supply. And that's all costs from, you know, well, all the way from Morrisville to Velco to ISO New England. I mean, those are, it's the cost of getting it from wherever it's generated, which is, could be, you know, near Boston, Maine, Quebec, and we got generators all over the place. And we have to pay to get it from there to here. And those, the companies, right, there's a national like problem right now with these transmission utilities. Of course, all these transmission, the majority of these transmission utilities are corporate with shareholders, they expect dividends. And they found out that if they keep doing high dollar, you know, infrastructure upgrades, their people make money, and they're being told that they're doing all kinds of gold plated upgrades, and the distribution utilities can't affect them. They just have to pay.
That's not the case in Vermont, though, where VTransGo, Vermont's transmission system.
VTrans briefed me on this.
What's that?
VTrans came, the head of VTrans came specifically and told us exactly this has all happened.
I mean, a lot of what everybody's got to remember is, we don't just get to make the rule, we're regulated to beyond regulation.
You are, the only
If you
point I
have-
wanted to make was that VTransGo is owned by every Vermont utility.
Right, but
And
it's,
every Vermont utility is a shareholder,
right,
and you'll see in this budget
but the
that the
Velco,
village gets a dividend
right,
from being an
we
owner
do
of VTransGo.
get a dividend from buying Transco stock. Right. We purchased that. But the big distribution outfits are spending money to beat the band, and we can't do anything about it except pay. That's what's going on right now.
And I just like to add-
I'm trying to get them reined in. Basically power supply, including transmission, is by far the lion's share of the gap. The only other part of the gap that is local is, well, the town select board moved without asking anyone else to separate the office staff. Meaning that both the town and the village need to employ more people to do the same job. So, you know, I've got an ad up for village clerk and I've got to pay for it. So all the budgets are up, due to staffing.
And as far as the utility end of it, if we knew the sun was gonna shine that much, we could have estimated for the increases in the cost of it coming back in, cause that is a huge factor.
But was it $415,000?
No,
No, I don't think so, right, so I guess I just
No,
felt,
but it's close to 100,000.
okay.
So-
great, no.
It jumps around and it all compiles. So it's,
We got somebody else wants.
So with what Eric was sharing, what you shared, Ken, and the picture that you painted, and with basically, I mean, the picture of your words is this sustainable? How many years do we got? Are we gonna be able to, are we trying to keep afloat something that is sinking? And should we be
The line-
preparing ourselves that if we're worried about paying the rate of a bigger company that's gonna have to come in and take over and get my power from them? Is that something we need to just be getting prepared for? Because the future seems pretty dim and glim. You know, there's a lot of gloom that have been shared, and so it's just kind of, those are the feelings that I think that people are having, you know?
I think the reality is this, is that all the electrical suppliers, providers, co-op us, how many rate increases do you see?
Green Mountain Power.
They're all, we're not unique to this. They
Oh, no,
all,
yeah.
they all are in the same boat. We all have our point of interest. My point of interest is that even though our transmission rates come up, electric rates come up, those solar panels, stuff like that, we need an increase and we have to go back for it and we don't always get it.
Yeah.
So that's, again, that's on the state, double whammy, it was making us buy power at X and then limiting what we can sell it for.
And last year, we were looking for a rate increase and PUC was basically saying we'd have a 2.5 deduction. Not an increase last year, and we don't understand how, when at the end of the year, we come up for $400,000, because they go by
So,
audits, they go by everything else.
As far as your question as to, you know, is it manageable, is it
Yeah, it's
maintainable, something
sustainable,
like that?
I mean.
I think I think in my opinion is that we've been able to maintain rates lower than our neighbors.
Yep.
Co-op, Green Mountain Power, so they're being hit with the same increases that we are. They're asking for increases to their users as well. I think that in the long run, we can maintain a rate which is lower than our neighbors.
Yeah.
So, which is, to me, is a great thing. I've got co-op power and I've got village power, and I pay a lot more for my co-op power than I do for the village. So I think long term, yes, I think this is sustainable and I think we can maintain a rate that's lower than anybody else would come in and take it over.
I mean,
Also, just to add on to that. Well, two things. One, as Will alluded to, this is a statewide issue. Everyone's going through it, but the munis are going through it more than the corporate ones. And that is due to previous leadership at the Department of Public Service, their view on rate cases for, you know, public versus corporate. Yeah, because corporate has the police shareholders and they let them carry cash and all this other, you know, they, for some reason, they just give them what they need better than they do the munis. There is light in the tunnel. Yet to play out, because I don't hold my breath when, well, a new state official, you know, promises me things, but there's a new commissioner in the Department of Public Service. He's worked with public power quite a bit. His like main assistant to help with this, was once a power analyst for VIPSA. He's also very much in public power. They see it completely differently. They want to do rate cases completely different and better for munis. So we can weather the ups and downs of the market better.
yeah, I mean,
It's
Just
so
one-
there is a light. I sure hope,
Yeah.
I sure hope he gets to stay and he really means it. We shall see.
One other thing, just.
But we are-
Quick.
You know, talking to Sean Emberley, who's that is kind of his guru for this. I had him in the office, you know, we're working together to, you know, get through this. And he looked at the numbers and he's like, you're not in as bad off as you think. There's a lot worse out there.
Oh, yeah.
I would,
It just real quick, just one last
Yeah.
point, and then I'm all set. And you know, honestly, you know, I'll share my personal opinion. I'd pay a higher rate to get the great service that you guys give to us in the village. I've had great service from you guys, and it's been just outstanding. And I'd pay a higher rate than pay my money to a bigger corporation that would come in and swallow us up. But the scary thing that we all know is Johnson's getting smaller. We are shrinking, we are not building, we are not growing, and so.
We got a big industrial park coming in, so, right, Mike?
Yeah, any year now. But yeah, but you know, I mean, everybody knows it, we're not growing, we've stagnated. We don't have anything that's bringing in some new community people. Our housing is tough across the whole state, and so I'm just worried. And that's just mine.
Kyle?
Yeah, I guess I just wanna ask, I mean, Eric, you mentioned in Front Porch Forum and kind of alluded to it right now.
I did.
It's me?
I'm just saying, here my front porch. Yeah.
No, but in Eric's reply to Cynthia,
Yes.
Porch Forum, I think the first time there, that, you know, we're not in as bad a shape as other municipalities or other utilities. However, I was reading back on the Hyde Park situation and the articles that have been written about that, that's all the information I have, is that this is how it started. Was borrowing to pay daily bills, borrowing, you know, chunks of money, getting these bond loans. And so I think it's a cautionary tale. I know we're not where they are, but I think it would be very easy to quickly get to millions and millions of dollars if we're having to borrow $500,000 every year or more to pay daily expenses. So at what point, because I mean, we elect you, we trust you to make sound decisions for us, sound fiscal decisions for us. We can't, that is our vote.
And we're not doing it.
So at what point, I mean, at what point do we, you know, for lack of a better phrase, pull the plug? Like, at what point do we say enough? We're not going to get to this, you know, dire point that Hyde Park got to. Are there other creative solutions to this? Do we just have to borrow money? You know, are there other ways to generate revenue? I don't know. I don't see much discussion of that in your meetings. I went back and looked at all the minutes and there's very little discussion about this, which I find really puzzling. So anyway.
It's, well, I gotta be careful, because just, so I'm part of the board that is helping to help Hyde Park, basically,
so I'd like to keep this out of conversation, not having to do with Hyde Park.
Okay.
Hyde Park isn't Johnson, it has nothing to do with it, so if you want information on Hyde Park, hang on, Eric. I would suggest you go to Hyde Park and ask him. I'm just saying, he was good.
Get into that situation.
Yep,
I mean,
and this is the first time you've ever seen the village asked to back $400,000 for electrical department. We asked for it because we don't get to have a surplus to be able to buy trucks. So when we need to purchase a vehicle, this is what we do, is we ask for backing out of the bonds. Right? So we asked for a bond for last year to replace a truck that's been going on for 5 years. So we did that. This is the first time in 5 years that I know of, because I've been on this board for 5 years, we have never asked voters to back into different bonds. So I'm not sure where you're getting several $500,000 bond votes.
It was 300,000 there we borrowed in 2024 is listed as a loan there.
For a truck.
And well, we don't know what that's for, so it's in the electric
Oh,
budget,
whatever.
it's a loan, and so.
It was
you know,
for the truck.
The budget, and when you look at the actual columns, that $300,000 isn't there, and that's kind of where I was wondering if we had borrowed.
We spent $120,000 versus that.
Okay, one at a time. Gordy?
I wanna finish my thoughts on this for the meeting is. We're talking about the electric department. We have 4 departments, you know, I refer this to a piece of pie. Some of us may eat more pie because there's 4 pieces to the pie, not 6. One's the electric, one's the water, one's the sewer, one's the general. They all 4 with personnel, whether it's outside or in the office of the ladies, they complement each other. So 1 week, there might be 20 hours electrical guys, the linemen and their equipment. The rest of the week, there might be a water leak with 10 guys for, or up to 10 hours for the water guys. There might be a sewer, go read some meters, there's another 10, so there's 40 hours. The next week, you've got different parts of the pie, so if you take one of those pieces of the pie out, the other 3 cannot sustain the same cost, the same equipment and personnel, so my feeling is we need to try to, as we can, keep these 4 pieces of the pie, the 4 parts that trustees are responsible for, so they can. The equipment, people, the budgeting, the ladies, you know, everything is all a big pool and it gets swapped each week and we can't afford a lineman separately, you can't afford guys, water, sewer separately, you can't afford the general fund, but if the people and equipment, if we all, each week is different, Rosemary will go on the time sheets, but if they all subsidize each other, if we can keep these 4 units together, the community is far better off, that's my 10 cents, I'll shut up.
And I'd like to add one more thing to electrical department. As I said, we're overly burdened with regulations and then not being mean to any of the past prior boards. But I think this goes all the way back to when Duncan was manager, that they were starting to implement AMI. And we didn't do it back then when there was lots of money. Well, we're in $1 million on it right now and we're being forced to implement it this year. What does that mean? New meters, wireless antennas, new systems, operating systems for our computers inside, and we can't say no. But yeah, you can opt out of it. So it's just, there's lots of stuff that the state, that's why I said, when you're saying that we're the ones that's gotta control it. It's not just voting for us that controls that. It's how you vote and putting people into the House and the Senate in the state of Vermont. That's a big portion of it. Because when they make these regulations, which we have to follow, we have no choice but to pass it to the consumers. Try to, correct.
About the AMIs, when I was on the board, and we did not do anything about it.
Because there was no money and it would have cost us $2 million.
Should have been really much more forward thinking, because we knew that was coming and we knew that that was going to happen. They were gonna make us do it. We didn't raise rates. We talked about raising rates and
You
then.
make it sound simple to raise rates. We can put a case forward. And if we go, well, we see this bill coming down the road, please give us more money. What are they gonna say?
No.
Yeah, since I've been here, I put my raise case in every year. Last year is the only time I didn't get it approved. So it's 2022, well, 2020,
We
maybe
do,
2023, we put in a rate case.
we do what you do, and as I said, it was way before your time on this board when this was all brought in. And there was large amounts of money for it then, and didn't seem feasible then. Now there's no money for it, and we're forced. So we're doing what we can do. It's
There is no capital reserve like we just voted on for the fire department. We're gonna have expenses, let's put a little bit in, we'll level it out. You can't do that one thing. The rate we charge is regulated by the state. And when we put our requests in, I mean, Eric had better have done his homework plus 10% because they're just not gonna hand it to us. The water and sewer, we control 100%. We have major increases in cost, we can just raise the rates. There's no regulatory rates for the water and sewer.
some, but not so.
Well, yeah, but nothing like the electric, I mean,
Right.
they're gonna come and say, no, you can't do this because whatever they deem reasonable.
Cindy?
So if they deny your rate increase, you can't appeal it, you can't submit more budgetary, information.
It's starting a case.
Our average rate case takes what, Eric, 4 months to procure through? Almost 5 at times.
If you're waiting on the final vote from the PUC, because there's a certain period where you can actually
Estimate.
put your rate increase in early. But you can't put in a partial rate increase early, you have to do the whole thing you asked for. And then if they come back and deny it or give you a smaller approved increase, you go back and calculate refunds on every single bill. And we just don't have the human resources to do that.
And what was it?
So by the time you wait for full approval, yeah, you're 4.5 to 6 months.
And then we put one in, the rate increase request for 12.5%. They gave us 10. As soon as they gave it to us, they turned around and raised their electric prices by 5%. Yeah, so we got a 5% increase after asking for a 10. That happens a lot. That's why I said it's not really on, well, it is on us because we're the ones who get to holler out about it. But our hands are tied 90% of the time. That's why when we make moves, they're little, gentle, and we're scared to do it because it turns around and bites us in the ass.
John and Scott.
Just listening to what everybody is saying, a lot of it seems to be about communication. Because everything you said up there, to me, makes perfect sense. And that for people to holler on you isn't really right. So I would propose that you sit down with Cindy and Kim and Kyle and write something, because listening to you here, the message that comes through loud and clear is that you haven't got a choice. And if people think that you have a choice and you're doing something that they don't like, I think that's because they don't understand you can't do anything else. They both, like I read Cindy's post in Front Porch Forum, I didn't know what the hell anything was. And I didn't know what the $415,000 was. I think you've got a very rational, good approach. I think you should tell people that.
We do.
Well, no, what I'm saying, they're right here, making a good deal of comment and noise. Not noise, but so what I'm saying is if you all could get together and not do it through Front Porch Forum, but just write a statement of the situation, take the $415,000. I think I'm hearing that the reason we're applying for that was that you basically are up against, between a rock and a hard place, and you don't have the choice to do something. If I forget what the vote was, but if there were 27 votes against and half as many for, I think just a little bit of time spent with the people who've been asking questions and don't understand, that if you wrote something that they understood, then maybe the rest of us would understand it too and get off your back.
Do not take this the wrong way. This is the first time I've seen any of you in this room during any of our meetings in 5 years, besides that annual meeting. We have a budget meeting, we go over this. If you would come in during our budget meeting and ask these questions, we would be giving you all these answers.
No, but
We also put it in the newspaper and warn about the meeting. We also are forced to have a public meeting. Eric held, it was 3 people showed up, 1 person showed up for it. It's in the newspaper, it's now on the radio, it's on our websites. I'm not gonna stand on the corner of a sign reminding everybody.
So obviously, it's not, the way you were trying to communicate things is not getting through to people because people don't show up. And I remember in the early days of the studio center, we said to each other, we went to a village meeting where there were 6 people there. We could do whatever we wanted just by bringing 10 extra people to the meeting and going things in. So I'm just suggesting that no matter how many meetings you have and how many people don't show up, like we come to the annual meeting, that's it. But there's an opportunity, the case you've made for why you're in the situation you're in is extremely clear. I think that if you put that in a 1-page statement, that the people who don't understand what, and are asking questions, if you all work together for a morning and just said, this is the situation we're in, we can't do anything about it, this is the reason we asked for the 415,000, you all voted it down, what are we supposed to do? we're elected by the voters, but we're not adversarial. We're not, the trustees against the town, and we're not trying to steal money from the taxpayers. We're just stuck. And I think that somehow, if it was written in words of probably 2 syllables. It was, rather than posting a notice, saying you're gonna have a board meeting. Get the local newspaper to post a statement on the front page of the paper. And this is by the people who came to the village meeting, drafted this statement. Please understand, and then, like Gordy said, I think you said this, Gordy, that the idea of this is an important issue and it ought to be re-examined and re-voted on.
Yeah.
So I think in order to have something that Gordy's talking about, that's not gonna be the same old, stuff that you always deal with. Warn the special meeting, but put something in simple language that they understand, that everybody will understand, that somehow the voters and the taxpayers have to work with you and not feel that they're again, they're trying to keep the taxes from going up.
The taxes weren't gonna be affected by that, so just.
Okay, that's part of the thing that you should be able to tell people.
We were asking the tax base to back a bond, and yes, I guess it would have affected you if we fail on the bond.
Well, it sounds like it's gonna affect the village. If this 415,000 is voted down, where else do you go?
We have options.
Okay.
So Scott had to drop his arm because he got tired.
Night vote. So, I like numbers and facts and things, so with the denial of your rate increase. What was the denial letter? What was the reason for it? And is that available for the see?
PUC, everything's available for the public to go look at, correct, Eric?
Yeah, that was actually,
Commission, so.
that was actually, so. We're,
Yeah.
all the municipalities, all the munis except for Hyde Park and Stowe. Are members of Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. And they have a lot of very specialized. Trained personnel to help these utilities with rate cases and power supply analysts and all that stuff. And so that was the rate case specialist, telling me that if we did about 2% on the wrong side, if we put it forward. So the PUC didn't,
I misspoke.
officially deny it. The guru at VIPSA said, you don't want to do it, take it back.
It's a really easy question. Where's the information on the feedback?
Right.
From the public service board, where is that?
The public service board didn't see that increase because I asked, we'll just say the guy's first name, Steve.
The guys we paid to do
To initiate rate case. And he dove into our numbers and came back, it's like, it's not there, but.
Yeah.
He made, the problem thing is, I think that's the problem, I do believe he made an error.
And I misspoke.
He's looking for the information.
Like, where's the information?
That
Where's the correspondence?
he didn't give me his whole spreadsheet, he just told me that,
What documentation do you have for that conversation?
Emails.
I was getting emails from him saying that, it's, the numbers don't look right. For it.
The reason I'm asking is if you are asking for rate increases. And it does go to the public service board and they say, yeah, absolutely, or they say, no. It would be nice as a ratepayer to know the reasons why it didn't fly.
Okay. Well, yeah, if they hammer us, we'll tell you what.
As I said, I misspoke. It was VEPSA that said that we would have a 2.5 deduction, not PUC.
Yeah. Duncan?
So. For me, one of my hesitations on the article to borrow 415,000 candidly was the term, the length of it. I fully understand the way I fully understand the way the Public Utilities Commission works with rate cases and all of that. But under normal circumstances, I would have expected the need for the 1-year letter of credit, or whatever was needed to tide the utility over until the rate case could be approved. The thing that concerns me is borrowing 415,000 for up to 10 years. That to me doesn't speak of short-term needs of the utility. That speaks to me of structural problems. So for me personally, the information that I'm gonna be comfortable with will be a better explanation of what that 415 is gonna be used for and why you need it for the term you need it for. I don't expect an answer right now. I'm just throwing that out here.
Steve?
I'd just like to add to Duncan's, I voted for it just kind of on basis of trust, because I don't completely understand how the numbers all work, but I think now, I guess, you have responsibility to explain to the people that voted against it what the alternatives are and how we're gonna deal with it, right? If what other consequences there might be, or I guess you're gonna come up with plan B, or just resubmit it for a vote, like they do with the school things. I'm not sure how we're gonna deal with this.
It'll be our next meeting for sure.
It's gonna be a topic in the next meeting.
I would just like to say. When I first moved out of my house, power was cheap compared to where it is now. And ever since I've had village power, the service has been exceptional. Paying, I'm not in favor of big increases because I have to eat the same thing, and I don't want it to be swallowed up by big corporate. I like having small because if the power goes out, maintenance guys are on it. I think we get really great service from them. So the last thing I want to do is just throw your hands up and give up. We come to you for a bond because we feel that we're gonna need it, and I think you didn't all get the information that you should have got. I agree with you, some more explanation should have been done. That being said, when we did have our meeting and we talked about putting this on, it would have been great to see more people, and I understand, I was guilty of the same thing when I wasn't on the board. I didn't attend a lot of meetings and stuff, and that's why I wanted to get on the board and learn about what was going on. And man, I just love to see some debate like this, the second Monday of every month, see some people, it would be great to see some people. I mean, I've never once even got an email from anybody saying.
You want my box?
Well, no, I don't want, what I'm saying is I don't, somebody hasn't emailed me and said, hey, what's going on with this, I just love to see more of you here, and I really don't want to give an increase to anybody, but what do we do when we run short? That's, come next Monday, we'll be talking about it, see what we can figure out.
Add to Darrel's quickly. First, yes, I mean, it's kind of pat Nate and the crew on the back, pat their backs a bit, about the service, but. In fact, a lot of people know, I should probably, promote it better is. You enjoy the most reliable electric utility in the state of Vermont. With the lowest amount of outages. Anywhere. And that's those guys right there.
We know, and thank you.
And we also do it at, middle of the road to just below middle of the road rates. Even with, my estimate, it's like, I can't look at everything that VIPS looks at. They look at all the deep, future power curve stuff, but my estimate we probably need about a 14% increase. Even with that, we are well below Washington Electric, Co-op, GMP, and a bunch of others. You know, we're affordable. And we will still be less than the big boys.
And the biggest, one of the biggest issues that come up with the, if we do get absorbed or bought out by a larger company, is that when there is a power outage, and in Vermont, that happens. Ice storms, snowstorms, windstorms, power outages throughout the entire state. The state wants the largest number of people turned on as quick as possible, and they get rated on that. So do you think that if the entire town of Johnson went out, that's gonna compare to co-op sending trucks to Chittenden, you know, bigger cities and towns, we're gonna be the last on the list. And if it's only a string of us, it's gonna be the last day before we get our power turned back on. Whereas these guys usually have it on within an hour. Couple, 3 at most, not very often. And I've actually had Nate beat us to a fire call because he heard that a power pole was hit. And I pulled up and he's walking back. He's already surveyed the scene and said, we got trucks coming and we're gonna get the pole righted back up. And you won't have that if you have a big power company coming in.
The only, I just want, yeah, I gotta brag a little bit. Sorry. But I remember the Christmas Eve winter superstorm we had 2 years ago. There was one power utility in the state of Vermont that had 0 outages, and that was Jennison. One.
You know, I don't think anybody.
Excuse me, are you a voter?
Our power, no, can I not talk in this?
Then you cannot speak.
I can't say it.
Unless the voters,
About power?
unless the voters authorize you to speak, you cannot speak.
A regular meeting you can.
Yeah.
But not in a village meeting. This is for village voters only. John?
I just want to come back to the communication issue, because they say that to do the same thing over and over and expect different results isn't gonna work. So the idea of people coming to village meetings, the idea of, like, if 3-4 people came to a Monday night meeting, that's not gonna inform the whole 800 people in the village or whatever there are. I think you have an opportunity. I mean, everything that's been said tonight is very positive. Both the record of the electric department, and I think that if you explain to people the same things you're saying tonight in a way they can receive it, not coming to meetings, but receive it on the front page of the News and Citizen. And then if Gordy says, okay, let's have a special meeting to re-examine this issue of the $415,000 bond, people are gonna come with a lot more positive attitude about supporting you than a meeting like this where you could get voted down.
Can I say something?
Now let's go back to Cindy, Kyle, and then to you.
Okay.
So just, I think that for my last comment, it's just that, I can easily see from looking at the numbers here, why we need a rate increase, and I'm totally supportive of that rate increase, and I think we should have, you know, probably been able to get a rate increase a couple of years ago. The big red flag for me and my big concern was just that we had a couple of lines in here that were over $100,000 that were not anticipated in our budget. You know, where we had to spend more or looking at spending more than what we budgeted. And for me, those two, you know, that's a big flag for me. If it were, you know, there's 40,000, 30,000, 75,000, those lines of increases all over here. Totally makes sense. I understand that. But when I saw those big sort of lines, I just couldn't understand why we weren't being more effective about how our budget process is. And from what you're saying, Eric, it sounds like working with the regulatory agency and buying transmission, those numbers are just wild numbers that you cannot anticipate. And I don't understand how any municipal, you know, utility then is able to make a rational budget. And
Well,
thank you. A bigger problem for everybody, so. Thanks for, you know, helping us understand that. I would like to know a little bit more about those, you know, larger amounts, maybe in the next meeting. I'll contact
Actually,
you.
I can give you
the time.
one that you asked online that I didn't get a chance to reply on because it was today.
Yeah.
was, you had the big increase in, I had just a line item of labor miscellaneous distribution, et cetera. That went up significantly. That was, I used that line item as a labor placeholder. Because so the way this thing is built. Is. You take, your projected labor, basically what the labor's been costing, plus the increases, or, changing personnel, whatever. Variables you have. And you plug in another page in this, the calculation page of the spreadsheet, so it splits it up. By percentages. To electrical and water and what, wastewater in general. But there's also as you saw in this budget. Per rules by the PUC and DPS. All of the different types of labor. Are split and accounted for separately. The time you spent working on replacing meters, customer accounts, transmit, substation stuff, all that is accounted for separately in the budget. All the rest of my budgets don't show that. So when you split those out with estimations, you have to go back and say, okay, does that match the total full electric that is forecasted? And it did. But I didn't want to not have the full forecasted amount and ended up short. So I dumped the extra labor from that sheet into that line item to be able to figure out later and know where it goes. It's still labor costs that are gonna happen. It's just the splitting of them to each little teeny discrete line item was, wasn't working. So I dumped it into there.
I'd just like to add that everybody sitting up here is paid the utilities also. And we don't want to cause issues. We don't want rate increases and we don't want burden on any of the taxpayers for bonds. It's just the inevitable fact that that's what happens with all municipalities down the road.
My wife finds out before you do, so she's mad at me long before you got there.
Yeah.
Did you want to do Kyle first?
She left.
Oh, okay, so mine, and this is not to pick on Carrie,
She was back in her stuff.
who I adore, by the way. But I know a number of people who are on village utilities for their homes, but they can't vote because they're not considered in the village proper.
Mhm.
However, is there any way that, because you might have had the bond pass if you'd been able to include all of or more of the people who are power users, but there's no way to include them?
Because this bond was backed by the village tax base. Not the town tax base, which were all town residents,
So,
but
but I mean, so even though,
village voters only.
but even though,
Yeah,
That-
unfortunately.
even though they pay the village utility.
However, she could have come to our budget meeting and let it spew and we would have listened and maybe took in some of that.
I'm not even talking about that piece, I'm just talking about, it's a shame because it's more than just her family
I
that
understand.
are on the village
Right.
utilities that have no voice.
People at GNP and power and,
I don't care about them.
I'm just saying,
these guys.
let's say, I can't vote on my power budget.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I see, it seems like a shame that they're involved, but they're excluded.
About trying a building in Johnson and living in Waterville. You can't vote on anything that goes to the rate of your taxes on your building in
Right,
Johnson, so.
Yeah, I'd also like to, as chair of the board, I'd like to thank Nate and his crew. They do outstanding service. Dan, thank you boys, Tim and Luke for us. Like everybody know, our sewer plant is finally starting to move some. It's been a long process with FEMA. Hopefully we'll have updates real soon. Motion to adjourn, sir.
We have a motion, we have a second, non-debatable. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Opposed?
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.